I think there's something that could be considered nice news right now when it comes to Zebec that I do like, and here's why. Because not too long ago, Zebec announced a partnership with Payroll. Now, Payroll is spelled like Payro, so it's basically like payroll, but then minus the two L's. But even besides that, why does this excite me? It's because, again, they partnered with them to fuse real-time stablecoin payroll with on-demand payroll lending, giving businesses instant liquidity and borderless payouts. So I think it's pretty cool because I think this is more so kind of harping towards the business focus side of things when it comes to Zebec because, again, other projects out there, they're very focused on the retail side of things. Nothing wrong with that. However, if I take a look back in history, what fostered the growth of the internet? Arguably, I would say it was enterprise adoption. Sure, the retail market did help, but really when enterprises stepped in, arguably, I think that was when the real growth hypothetically kind of started. So when it comes to these type of projects, I get it. Being focused on the retail market is cool, but then at the same time, being focused on businesses, being focused on the enterprise market, I think also arguably is a pretty cool thing as well. So I like the direction in which Zebec is heading. And keep in mind, right, Zebec is focused also on AI-based PayFi. If we take a look at AI, that market size right there is predicted to be worth nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So it's not bad. And this is why I still have the idea of 10 cents on my mind when it comes to Zebec, because I kind of view this project, right, as being a miniature version of Ripple and Stellar, but with an AI aspect, and then at the same time having a Solana aspect too, but then also with a way lower market cap than XRP and XLM. So to me, it's something that I'm looking at. I'm not telling them to do anything when it comes to Zebec, but even when I take a look at XLM right now, market cap is above 10 billion, right? I saw XRP not too long ago reach a market cap around 200 billion. Even if, let's say, ZBCN went to the price of, again, 10 cents, market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around $9 billion. So not even the current market cap of XLM, and not even 5% of what XRP reached in terms of market cap not too long ago, which I find kind of interesting, actually, to me, kind of like shocking, actually, even though, again, I'm not telling them to do anything when it comes to ZBCN, but 10 cents is around a 23x from here. If we're taking a look at XRP, I get it, very popular, it's very massive, but how is that going to do over a 20x in the next 6 months? I just don't really see it. This is the way to take a look at it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, I don't believe in it and whatnot. I still like the project, but then in terms of it doing that, I just don't really see it, arguably. And also, if I take a look at something like XLM, right, let's say it does a 20x from here, market cap is going to be pretty massive, at that point, over 200 billion. I just kind of feel like this is the way I just view this situation. However, when I take a look at something like ZBCN, I just like it because the market cap is just way lower. Don't get me wrong, I still hold something like XLM, for example, but I just like ZBCN just due to its relatively speaking lower market cap. I get it, the market cap is in the hundreds of millions. It's not a small project by any means, right? But then at the same time, when I take a look at something like XLM and XRP with a very massive market cap, this kind of seems a little bit small in the grand scheme of things compared to the market leaders. And the crazy thing about Zebec, the way you take a look at it, is that there's not even that many competitors to begin with. I mean, sure, there's XCN, there's Swiftcoin, there's XPR, there's XDC, but that's not that many, that's just 4 beyond, arguably, the ZBCN if we minus XRP and XLM. So I kind of like the market positioning that Zebec is in. Keep in mind, it's also focused on the Zebec cards, which I get it. It's not really that impressive, but we've kind of seen what it's done with Algorand, right? Very popular when it comes to Algorand. And if we take a look at Algorand as a layer 1 blockchain, it's also very reputable. We take a look at something like, for instance, what the Zebec cards did with Bonk. Bonk is a very popular Solana-based meme coin. And also, not to mention, we saw what it did with Phoenix, right? A meme coin on the XRP ledger. So then, it's at least doing something. So when people say, the Zebec cards are not really doing this and doing that, I actually still find it that it is actually doing things. Sure, it may not be the biggest project out there, but it's still at least doing something. It's also, keep in mind, focused on payments and global trade and finance, much like Ripple and Stellar, but then also on top of that, we see how it's even focused on the education market, and we take a look at how it's also working towards compliance of ISO 20022. So it's at least doing kind of a lot, actually. I'm very excited when it comes to Zebec. I get it. I don't think it's going to be the biggest project out there, but I still like it nonetheless. However, the way I take a look at ZBCN right now is that even though it's still doing better right now than when I first started talking about it, it still had a pullback, right? Because not too long ago, 10 cents was like around an 11x or 13x from here, something like that. Now it's around, again, a 23x from here. So it's kind of went down by quite a lot in the grand scheme of things, even though it's kind of went up in the grand scheme of things as well. It's had a pretty big pullback too. But then at the same time, I'm just staying patient because I felt like ZBCN had that initial, most recent rally kind of without really much excitement, I think, in the grand scheme of things for altcoins. Because if I take a look at it, at that time, I don't think arguably that was a fully fledged type of altcoin season. Not to mention, at that time, I felt like the main kind of hype surrounding ZBCN was just that, oh, it's a miniature version of Ripple and Stellar. There was really nothing like to kind of latch on to fundamentally. But we've kind of seen what Zebec has done in terms of acquiring Gate Knox and being focused on compliance through that, acquiring Science Card UK, being focused on education through that. And we've kind of seen the kind of strides it's made, right? Also, when it comes to Zebec cards, what it's done with payrolls, what it's kind of, I would say more of the recognition regarding RWAs, or should I say real world assets, and that kind of focus when it comes to Zebec, it's kind of more well known now. So then I actually like Zebec right now when compared to before, despite the price of ZBCN being higher before. So then I'm just staying patient, I'm holding and just waiting, and that's pretty much it. Because sometimes people like to say, oh, why don't you try to find the exact moment? Well, I don't think it's possible for me to do that, because even if I pulled up a price chart, drew some random triangles, it's not going to make the market do this or do that. It's not going to pay attention to what I have to do, right? So then the only thing I can do is stay patient. I think that's about it, really. But then in the meantime, I'm just not just looking at ZBCN not doing nothing, even though I'm not telling them to do anything when it comes to ZBCN. What I'm doing is just dollar cost averaging, holding and just waiting, and just quite essentially staying patient for a moment in time in which ZBCN does make a move. I just want to be prepared. That's really about it, right? I did that in the beginning and I'll still do that right now. It's just simply dollar cost averaging, waiting, and that's it. I know sometimes people like to say, oh, it's boring and all this, but personally for me, I'm not gonna just focus on the price charts and care about what happens every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's not my style. You know what I mean? My style is just more just waiting and just kind of treating it like a marathon. It's not really a sprint for me. So then that's what I'm gonna do. But in the meantime, I do like what I'm seeing when it comes to Zebec. I think the team seems to be heading the project in the right direction. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm still excited, let's say arguably in the next 6 months, of what maybe ZBCN could do. So with all that being said, I'm just staying patient, holding, and that's pretty much about it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain. I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.